What's going on, dudes? Welcome back to UN12. My name is Dave. I am going to be doing something that we have not done before. You guys know that UN12 is not just the channel, but it's also a magazine. And this is the first time that we have done a sister article video companion crossover. So if you got the latest issue of UN12, there's a great article in there written by Jerry. I'm using my T handle as a bookmark. But if you go to that article, at the very end of it, there's a QR code which would lead you to this video. Maybe you've stumbled across this because you're a subscriber. And if you're not a subscriber, by the way, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you aren't a subscriber to the magazine, great high quality magazine, really good stuff. One of the best print mags in the industry, and I mean that. But anyways, we're gonna kind of go over some stuff on how I would set up these 4 rifles. So in his article, Jerry set up 4 rifles with gear from Holosun for optics, lasers, and illumination, kind of 4 different setups. A basic or an intro tier, a mid tier, a night vision tier, and then a magnification or SPR type tier. And now you're gonna kind of see my take on that using the same components, but I'm gonna configure mine a little differently, and I'll talk more about that at the end. So make sure you stick around to the end and kind of hear about why my setup might differ than what you have in here. So, a lot to kind of go over. I appreciate you guys tuning in, spending some minutes with me. Hope all is well. And let's get to it. And by the way, I do have to give a huge thanks to Holosun for sponsoring this video and providing all of the demo equipment. Just want to let you guys know, I don't get to keep the surplus of equipment. It's demo stuff. I do have to send it back, but they are supporting the video by loaning us all of this stuff to make this video happen. So, I mean, what's not to like with that, right? All right, let's get into it. I'm gonna clear the work surface off. We're gonna start with the entry-level tier, and we're gonna work our way up. Now, my entry-level rifle is even more entry-level than what was in the magazine. I have polymer handguard, just some basic, kind of surplus furniture. And this might be a true entry-level gun. It even has a fixed front sight base. So I'm not gonna be mounting a laser on this one. Plus, mounting a laser to a plastic rail is not really a good idea anyway, for obvious reasons of stability. But if you even have just a basic rifle like this with a flat top, in my opinion, every rifle should have a sling, which we're not gonna cover in this video, but a red dot, good quality sights, and a white light. And that's where Holosun kind of comes in with this build. So for the red dot, we're going to be using this small red dot. This is the ARO-RD2, and it's a nice compact red dot. They're really good quality. It has a mount, nice pedestal mount, very easy to mount. I actually really like a lot of the Holosun red dots, so this is just a great way to go. Even looking at the mount, it's easy to secure with the one cross bolt, and then it does have recoil lugs built in as well. Now, before you work on any firearm, you want to make sure that your work surface is clear of any ammunition or magazines and your firearm is unloaded. So we have checked all of these prior to the recording of this video, but you always want to remove a magazine if one is present, lock the bolt back to the rear, check the loading area, mag well, and chamber to make sure no ammunition is present. And then I also recommend double checking again. So it's a look, and then double check, look, and now you can verify that everything is safe so we can start working on stuff, because I'm telling you guys, safety is the #1 thing. So we're gonna begin by putting the red dot where you want and just hand tightening for now, and then you can get an idea of how the eye relief is. Now, the eye relief is the distance from your eye to the red dot. Some guys like to put their red dot all the way forward, and what they may find is that it kind of looks like you're looking through a tube, which isn't exactly optimal. Likewise, you don't necessarily want to be right on it. There's kind of a sweet spot where the frame or the window, if you will, the tube of the dot just kind of disappears with both eyes open, and you're able to look through the red dot. For me, it's right about here. So once you have the red dot in place, I'm gonna actually loosen it and push it all the way forward. I want those recoil lugs on the forward surface, so that way once recoil pushes back, it's not slamming against the recoil lug on the optic. So we're gonna push the optic all the way forward, hand tight, grab the appropriate socket, check the owner's manual that come with all of the different optics in this video, and make sure you use proper torque. We don't want to over torque and damage the fastener. Likewise, thread locker might be appropriate as well. I'm a big fan of thread locker, but since I'm going to be moving some of this stuff around, I'm going to skip that just for the purposes of this video. But once you have your setup where you want it, I would highly recommend witness marks and thread locker, and you can check out the video in the description below where we talk about witness marks, because in my opinion, they're very, very important. Now, like I've also said, having a good quality light is really important. And what I like about Holosun lights in general is that the tail cap on all of them has a nice, easy to find button. So if you didn't use a switch, it's momentary by holding it, or a click will turn it on, similar to like a mouse. But it also does have a standard plug, and depending on your setup, you can either get a dual lead. So if you did use it with a laser, as the name implies, is dual leads. You have two leads, one goes to the laser, one goes to the light, and then you have multiple buttons for the interface of that. Or they do have simple buttons with just a single. In this particular setup, I'm not going to use a button, but depending on how you wanted to, you could easily add a small piece of Picatinny rail, even on a polymer gun or like an M-lock rail, and then mount that switch right there or right there if you wanted to. Some people really prefer buttons and switches. Some people don't. That's okay. The biggest thing is, if you are going to use a switch, make sure you secure the cords. You don't want those all around. And I'll show you a couple solutions for those in just a minute when I put this on an M-lock rail. But even on these polymer rails, M-lock is super easy to work with. Just make sure that the lugs are basically in alignment with the flashlight. And then we're going to put them in the M-lock slot of your choice. And then you're going to take the appropriate size bit. These particular ones are Torx 10. And we're going to snug. You're actually going to feel that T-nut kind of rotate. Or you can even kind of take a quick glance. So now it rotated. So basically when it goes in, it kind of goes in alignment with the slot. And then as we tighten it, it rotates and then it wedges against this. Now with plastic, we don't want to over tighten because those metal T-nuts and fasteners could damage the plastic. But now your light is installed, and this is actually reversible. So if I was going to be keeping this on long term, I would probably put it on the other side and then activate it with my thumb. But this is just an easy way to get a baseline accessory kit to upgrade a rifle that you may have bought right off the shelf. May have came with rear backup sight, but if it has a flat top, now you have a red dot, now you have a white light, you can add switches, you can add modularity to this. This setup is ready to go to the range, ready to go to a class, put a sling on it, and you're good to go. All right, so now we're going to talk about mid-tier. Maybe your rifle has a rail, and what's great about rails is not only they have more rigidity, some people find them a little bit more comfortable, but we can also mount accessories on either the M-lock rails or the top Picatinny rail, and that's what we're going to do here today. So I have to change this one up a little bit because obviously that front sight is going to get in the way if I mount a laser. Now you'll notice when the laser is mounted, part of the laser cluster is blocked by the front sight. They do make lower profile front sights that actually have a little cutout on that side, or what a lot of guys do is they will put the front sight behind the laser as well. So the laser would be forward and then your front sight could go here. So if you did need a backup sight for whatever reason, it's not blocking the laser, but you still have it. Otherwise, what a lot of guys do is they'll use the laser as their backup sight. So if their red dot were to go down, they would activate the laser. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of preference, but keep that in mind. If you have a set of flip-up sights, you want to make sure that they're not blocking the laser. So we're going to take off this front sight, and we are going to set it aside, and then we are going to continue with the install. And just so I don't lose them, because they are a set, I'm just going to pop the back one off as well. All right, so because we are going to use a pressure switch, I'm actually going to mount the laser first. And again, we just put that on the Picatinny section of our choice. I like to just snug it, pushing it all the way forward so those recoil lugs engage. The Holosun lasers use a flathead screw to secure them, so in a pinch, if you were in the field, you can use an improvised tool if you need to. I've even seen some guys use the back of a knife blade. Don't really always recommend that. It's always great to have tools with you, but it is easy just in case you were to have to do any field repair. So we're going to tighten that to proper torque. And then again, because it is an aiming device, I would highly recommend thread locker, proper torque, and a witness mark to make sure that nothing is moving. But now that the laser is basically right where I want it. Now, what's cool in that we're going to put the light on here as well. And this particular one is the Raid K, which is their smaller, more compact light. So again, we're going to pick the M-lock rail of our choice. We're going to make sure that the lugs are in alignment with the tube of the flashlight, and then put them in that M-lock slot. And again, once you feel that T-nut kind of lock into place, then we can just snug it, make sure that the light is in the exact position we want, and we can apply our final torque. And again, make sure you guys are checking the manufacturer's specifications on proper torque, because the last thing you want to do is over tighten and risk damaging a fastener. Then you can easily apply a witness mark to that as well with a paint marker, and that way you'd make sure that those fasteners don't loosen up on you. Each one of these has a crane plug, so this is a perfect opportunity to use this dual lead switch. Now, as far as the switch goes, most people are going to mount it like this, so that the buttons are basically moving forward, and then the ledge is at the front of the gun, if you will, and then they would run the wires back. Now here's the deal, some dudes I've talked to, they prefer to run it the other way. That's okay. It's up to you if you have a preference on how you want the buttons to run and command, but I'm gonna mount them like so. Once you have the tape switch or the pressure pad installed, you're then gonna run the leads to the appropriate devices. One to the laser, one to the light. Now here's what's an issue, is that you have these wires basically hanging out, and we don't want that, because if they were to get snagged on something, that could potentially kind of ruin your day, right? So you want to make sure we kind of detangle these the best we can. So we're going to run them about like so. And we can kind of run it up underneath the tape switch, so it's kind of out of the way. And then there's tons of different products. This particular one, I can't remember the brand. This is a small M-LOK cable keeper, and basically it has two kind of channels that you're going to put the cord in, and then an M-LOK T-nut. So you would mount this wherever you want, and the cord would kind of loop through. So we're going to mount that, I don't know, right about there. I'm going to get my fastener ready. And again, I'm just going to put the line in each channel. Now you can see the difference compared to this one with the loose cable that could easily get snagged, break, get caught on gear. With this one, this is held in place, keeping the cord nice and tight against the handguard, which is how it should be. So we would repeat with another one of these cable keepers, probably in a position, you know, right about like that. Again, trying to keep all of the cords as nice and tight as possible. You don't want these cords as a risk to get snagged on gear, stuff, getting in and out of vehicles, whatever it might be. So again, note the difference, and again, cable management is really, really important. I'm not gonna do that other one right now. We're gonna get the rest of the stuff installed so you guys can see it, because you don't wanna be watching this video for an hour and a half. But everything now feels pretty good as far as hand controls. This is about where I would normally grip the gun. This is kind of my reference point of where I can rest my thumb, and then I can come back and start to work the controls. So the first button is gonna control the laser. The next button is going to control the light. If you wanted to switch that, you can easily switch leads to make sure that you know which button is doing what. Maybe you want your laser first, your flashlight second. It's all personal preference. But once you get to know your setup, you'll kind of have your style, and then again, you'll kind of have your spot. So for me, if I'm just regular shooting, my thumb is going to go right here, and then I'm going to work my way backwards for the controls for the light and the laser. Mounting the optic on this kind of mid-tier magnifier build is quite simple as well. We're going to take the red dot, we're going to put that in the proper position on the firearm and snug. And then we're just going to quick verify that the eye relief and placement looks good. That feels nice. So again, I'm going to push forward on the recoil lug, tighten with the proper amount of torque. Now, if you want to add a magnifier to this, there's plenty of room on the rail to do so. Now, there's some debate over LPVO versus magnifier, magnifier versus not, red dot versus magnified, whatever. That's another debate for another video. But the cool part with the magnifier is that it is versatile. It gives you magnification when you want it, and you can flip it aside, and you don't have to have it when you don't. Now, it does add a little bit of bulk and weight to the gun, so if you know that you're not going to shoot distance, you can easily take the magnifier off with the quick release lever. Now, what's cool about the Holosun quick release is that once it's locked in place, you can't just lift and remove it. You actually have to press a little button behind the lever, and then you can lift up on the lever and then remove the magnifier. So you don't have to worry about it, hopefully, getting snagged and falling off or anything like that. That works pretty nice. You don't want your stuff falling off and having a garage sale. But we're going to lock it in place, making sure the recoil lugs are all of the way forward. And again, now you have your magnifier. If you want to, you can use it, look through here, and basically you have a 3x magnification, or you can flip it to the side, and now you're just looking through and you have your standard red dot. So very easy, very versatile. Red dot, magnification, and everything just gets bigger, right? That's a great thing to have, right? How about that? So that's an easy setup right there. So now let's talk about night vision. Maybe you have PVS 14s or whatever night vision of your choice, and you kind of want to build a gun that allows you to utilize that with something really cool like this laser. I gotta say, I am really impressed. When they came out with the Iris G4, I can't remember which exact, if it was SHOT Show or which event it was, but I remember looking at this and how compact it is to have a 4 function. If you didn't know, the Iris 1, 2, 3, 4 depends on the amount of functions. So 1 is just 1 laser, 2 would generally be 2 lasers, 3 is illuminator and visible and IR laser, 4 is a IR illuminator, IR laser, visible laser, as well as a visible white light. So, and then this switch on the back basically tells you which mode that you're in. And what I like about Holosun is that, again, it's really straightforward. Their abbreviations, everything is pretty intuitive. Once you kind of practice it a little bit, it's easy to get to know. And then the other cool part is the slider on top for your IR illuminator basically acts as kind of like a modifier to zoom in and out that illuminator. So really cool feature. They're packing in a ton of technology and a good quality, robust laser. These irises really did impress me. So night vision, obviously you want a laser that works with your night vision so you can see it with your night vision and everybody else can't. That's kind of cool. But you also still want to have a white light as well as a visible laser. And then what's cool with Holosun is that if you don't have night vision, they have an option with this guy right here. This is the DRS-NV. And what's neat about it is it's a red dot sight. You look through it and it's a red dot. Hope if I probably look through, show you the right way. You probably can't see the dot on the camera, but if we look through there, you can see that big reticle. And if we turn on the top, it actually superimposes digital night vision and turns this red dot window into basically a little mini TV screen, which is kind of cool. So then you look through it and you see digital night vision with your dot superimposed over the top. Now, if you want, you can turn your dot off. And when you turn the dot off, there is a digital reticle option with the digital night vision that you can zero. So maybe you know with digital night vision you're going to shoot subsonics. You want to zero that digital reticle to subsonic, and you want to zero the red dot to supersonic. Maybe you're shooting a 300 blackout or something like that. That is totally an option. So it's really neat that you're packing in all this technology with this, plus you're getting that digital night vision. Now there are some trade-offs between digital night vision and traditional night vision, obviously field of view, but then keep in mind that if you're looking through the night vision, the gun is also pointed there as well. So make sure that you're in an appropriate environment. You're probably not going to be searching with your digital night vision because then you're muzzling everything. So again, something to kind of keep in mind. Proper torque, thread locker if this was permanent. Now you can add a magnifier, and that would just simply fit right behind here. And the magnifier would work with the red dot, which is kind of a cool solution. So if you needed magnification, you have it. Now I'm gonna leave the magnification on the other build, so we're just gonna use this one with the night vision. But now I have digital night vision as well as a red dot. All right, I'm gonna mount the laser in this position here, and then I'm just gonna simply snug by hand, making sure that recoil lug is pushed all the way forward, and then we can apply our final torque. And again, because this is an aiming device, I would highly recommend a witness mark to make sure that does not loosen. Last thing we want is for an aiming device to shift and move around. But if I wanted to, I could easily control it with my thumb and reach up. My normal shooting grip would be something like this. I could reach up and hit the controls as well as the slider. Or if I wanted to, I could also mount a switch. Now on SBRs, it's a little tougher because you run out of real estate. So believe it or not, for SBRs, I actually prefer just to use the buttons. That's just my preference. Some guys like to use tape switches. That's totally cool. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is because if you had like the GR3 that didn't have the white light, you totally don't need to worry about having two, because right now we have two illumination devices. I'm just showing you that if you have the Iris 3 without the white light, you could still mount a white light, and this is kind of my preferred setup on an SBR. So this is just for demonstration. I know the comment section's already gonna make all the comments below, like, you have two lights. Well, the argument could also be made, one is none, two is one. And this light on board isn't quite as bright as the Raid K. If the Raid K does have a little bit more throw, whereas the light on the Iris is a little bit more flood. So some dudes may prefer that as well. I don't know. Now, keep in mind on some guns, maybe like PCCs or something like that, where you have even more limited real estate, you can just get by with this. And keep in mind, you have 4 functions. That actually does a pretty good job in a nice compact package. So this is kind of a really cool night vision setup. Great, has a laser, has your light, has your optic of choice, all in one cool package. So last, let's talk about SPRs, recce rifles, marksman rifles, whatever you want to call it, but basically something that you want maybe a little bit more precision oriented. This is my particular version of that. Now, I don't follow the internet hard rules of it has to be an 18-inch rifle and blah, blah, blah. This particular one is a 16-inch, and the reason why I did that is because by the time you add a can, the overall length is a little bit more manageable, and this thing shoots super lights out. This is a JP. This is literally one of my favorite rifles, and I do have it kind of configured in that role. I have an Arca rail on the bottom. I use their semi-monolithic upper, so it does have a tube system, but you'll notice I mounted a rail at the 12 o'clock position for the laser, which, since I mentioned it, we might as well talk about it now. Now, for my particular setup, I actually prefer my laser around thumb's distance on this rifle. I don't necessarily want it all the way out because I might be shooting with a bipod on support, on a bag, whatever it might be, and I don't want to go all the way to the front to turn on or off the laser. I might just simply come right here where my hand would naturally be, and I can control that laser. So that's just my preference. You can mount the laser wherever you want to mount the laser, but we're going to put on the Iris GR3. GR means the visible laser is green. 3 means it has 3 functions. So we have an infrared illuminator, infrared laser, and a visible laser. And again, what's cool about the Iris is that infrared illuminator does have this slider, so I can control kind of the spot and the flood on the illuminator, which is nice. So right about there is where I prefer it, and then again, I can just simply move my thumb up to activate it, but it doesn't really get in the way. So this is just my setup, my preference on this particular gun that I've learned over the years of what I like. I've put together enough ARs that I know what my preference is and where I generally like my optics, and you will get to know that the more you kind of configure and build things as well. We're going to open the quick release, put that in place, and then lock the quick release, making sure that that safety tab engages so the lever doesn't accidentally open. So now we have a 6x magnifier. Help if I have the stock in the normal position. And eye relief looks pretty good. I can flip that magnifier to the side, and now I could look through if I needed to do some speed drills, didn't want the magnification. I have 6x magnification and basically 1x or a red dot. So this is kind of a great setup for this. Now, if you wanted to, maybe you have a gun with a 12 o'clock rail that's continuous, you could mount a light, a laser, a dual switch, a single switch, whatever you particular want. For me, on this particular gun, I'm going to kind of run this like so. I'm going to keep it kind of slick side, and we're just going to have the laser and the magnification like so. And this is a pretty slick setup. Add a suppressor, and you're ready to head to the range. All right, dudes, I feel like I've thrown a lot at you. I mean, look at all of these different configurations. It's pretty clear that the product market offering from Holosun is pretty wide, and Holosun has really come a long way. I remember shooting my very first Holosun pistol optic back in the day. To see where they've come, how innovative they are always making waves at every trade show. That booth is always packed. There's always people wanting to see what the newest, latest, and greatest is from Holosun because they move quick, they're innovative, and I have been impressed with a lot of their gear. I didn't always think, I was skeptical. I'm just going to say that I was skeptical at first, but now they are one of my favorite optic manufacturers. And now they make so much other stuff too. Affordable lasers compared to some of the other guys that work really, really well. Optics, lights, pistol optics. You guys watch the channel, you know you've seen a lot of my pistol optics are Holosun. So a lot of really cool stuff. What did you guys think of the format? Did you kind of like the accompanying video to the article? If so, leave a comment down below. This is meant to kind of be a visual companion. And one thing I do want to close on, a quote that I really liked from the magazine article is this. The 4 categories outlined here aren't rigid boxes. They are stages along a continuum. And as you can see, if you read the article, my continuum is a little different than the article. So that is the cool part about this, is that one thing doesn't have to work for everybody. You can pick yours, I can pick mine, and you can set up what works for you. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure whenever you are headed to the range, get some good quality eye and ear pro, train safe. Thanks very much for watching, and have a great day.